Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I head out for a walk and deliver an episode to you while I stroll around. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good afternoon, listeners. It's a chilly day here in suburban Chicago, but all told, it's pretty nice. It's about 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is below zero for those of you who know your Celsius. I don't know how far below zero, but maybe about 10, 9. Yeah, that's 5/9 of 15. I am on a stroll to run an errand, so I'm going to record a couple podcasts while I do that, because the amount of time it takes me to get to the hardware store is one podcast worth of walk. So we're 3 episodes into the new season now, or 2 episodes. We haven't done any talk about just games that I played. So we're going to do back-to-back shooting from the hip triple shot episodes. Although if I think of something good to record tomorrow on my way home from class, I may swap that in for the next episodes. We may have a break in between. So that's right. It's time for shooting from the hip triple shot. Shooting from the hip is a quick first impressions segment that I do, in which I have played a game maybe once or twice, and I tell you about it. If you're new to the podcast, these are not reviews per se, but first impressions, because I haven't played the game enough times to properly review it. So here we go. The first game I'm going to talk about is Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. Now, despite what I just told you about only playing a game once or twice, this game I've actually played a bunch of times, just not in its final form. So if you know Isle of Cats, you know it is a delightful polyomino game in which you're drafting tiles from a market and playing them onto your board and trying to get as many points as you can, cover up rooms so that you can avoid losing points, and generally have a grand old time. Now, when COVID started, people were trying to figure out how to play games remotely. I know our family set up this whole tripod deal on our dining room table, so we would play a number of games remotely with one another. My game group went to remote play for about a year and a half, and my partner and I ran remote play video sessions for our game group every Tuesday night for like a good year and a half. It was great. I mean, not nearly as good as getting together in person, but it felt good to be supporting the world that way. Anyhow, one of the first game companies that I saw do something to support people in remote play was Frank West of Isle of Cats created a roll and write version of Isle of Cats, where the host, if they had the game Isle of Cats, could run this game remotely. Everybody else just had to print out a sort of roll and write version of the player board from the website, and then all the people at home could play along. The way the game works is there's a grid of cards, and you pick one column to score. I can't remember a row or column. You pick a column, I think, to draw each round. And what you're doing is you're drawing the cats on your board, just as with the regular game. There's also these lessons that you can score, and the lessons give you points. They sort of are point multipliers at the end of the game. Yeah, and basically it's like Isle of Cats, just a bit more succinct and a bit less luck intensive, because you all have the same choices every time. So unlike Isle of Cats, where you're drafting from this deck of cards and you might just not get the good cards, like if you never get an Mosaic card on the deal out and everybody always takes them, then you'll never get to have one, that sort of thing. Generally, it's a really good roll and write adaptation of Isle of Cats. Now, my wife likes roll and writes. She likes Isle of Cats, and so this was the Christmas game gift for her, Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. So overall, it's kind of a game I've played a bunch of times already. Played it several times on the stream, and maybe once with my family, but it's a little clunky if you're using the original Isle of Cats game, because you're using tiles and so on. But the Explore and Draw physical copy of it kind of boils everything down into a tighter version of that same game, and it's delightful. Now, Rado has many times called it like the best roll and write out there. I disagree. And he's also said it's like the best version of Isle of Cats. I disagree with that too. I like the game with the tiles better. There's more stuff in the expansions, and frankly, I just like placing polyomino tiles. It's a different experience than drawing them. That said, it's a really fun game. Much more portable. Gives a different experience, and it's shorter. So Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. A good addition to the collection. I'm not sure you need both. I'm happy we have both. It's fun. Give it a try if you get a chance. So moving on. Next up is Mosaic, A Story of Civilization. Now this is a game, I got invited to a friend's game day. He had people over to play games for several hours. And one of the games that people were playing that I thought I'd give a try was Mosaic, A Story of Civilization. This is a new game from Glenn Drover, from Forbidden Games, the publishing company that did Raccoon Tycoon is the other game from them I've played. I've not played the other games that they have, Lizard Wizard or Railroad Tycoon, or there's a pirate one too. But Mosaic, A Story of Civilization is a 4X Civ game. The exterminate part is very minor. There is a little bit of combat or warfare, but not much. It's pretty minor. Nonetheless, area control is definitely a significant factor in the game, but it also has the terraforming Mars cards with tags system. But what I mean by that is a big part of the game is acquiring these cards and putting them in front of you in a tableau, and those cards have tags on them, and the tags give you powers and scoring opportunities. So if you have a card with a certain combination of tags, then you're allowed to acquire another card, or you can get these bonuses. And I ended up coming in, I think, second place by dint of having gotten all these bonuses. So that was pretty fun. The downside is it is a game that can take a long time if nobody pushes the end game. The way the end game works, there are 4 different decks of cards that cycle based on different things people could be doing. And each time you get far enough through one of the decks of cards, a scoring card will come out. And the scoring card triggers one of the 3 scoring phases. Once the 3rd scoring phase happens, then the game ends. So, and there's like there's 5 different things that can trigger a scoring phase. Or 6. There's 4 in these decks, and then there's 2 sets of tiles that if they run out, that triggers a scoring phase. So, but the players can control it. Like, we didn't have anyone pushing. I think we had 2 of the scoring phases, but we didn't have anyone pushing the things that were going to make the 3rd one happen. And so our game went on a really long time. On top of that, we had somebody who was just a bit slower in deciding what they were going to do, or a couple players actually. And so the gameplay itself ended up being very long, to the point that it was, I think, a good hour longer than it should have been. And that was frustrating. I did not enjoy that part of it, but overall, it was a pretty fun game, and I really enjoyed my time with it, and I look forward to playing it again. Weirdly, so I posted a picture of it on Instagram, and then a friend texted me. He's like, "Oh, playing Mosaic, huh? I've heard that's good." And I said, or he said, "Oh, did you get Mosaic? I've heard that's fun." I said, "Oh, it is fun. I'm playing a friend's copy. I don't have it." He said, "Oh, okay." Turns out he had gotten it for me for Christmas. So he was panicking that he had to go buy me a different present or, whatever. But nope. So now I do actually own a copy of this game as well. I did put it on my shelf of opportunity because I generally, once I acquire a game, it goes on my shelf of opportunity, even if I've played it before, because now I have it, I need to play it. Now, if I were to play someone else's copy, I would take it off the shelf. So once I own it, playing someone else's copy, that's fine. I can take it off the shelf. But I do have to play it after I buy it to not have it be on the shelf of opportunity, which I'm excited to do. So that's Mosaic, A Story of Civilization from Glenn Drover. I haven't even really explained how to play. It takes place in the Mediterranean. You are one of 5, I think, or maybe 7 different possible civilizations along the Mediterranean. And there's some area control, some wonder building, some technology building, some tableau building, resource management. It is a 4X game in all of the ways that that's good and bad. There's too many rules to explain, but it's pretty fun, and I recommend you give it a chance or give it a look if you think it sounds neat. That's Mosaic, A Story of Civilization. I did get a chance to revisit a game I'd played before. This was On Mars. My buddy Paul invited me over. He was in the mood for some Lacerda. He hadn't shown his girlfriend Katie how to play that yet, so we decided to get together and play On Mars. It was a delightful romp through Mars in outer space. Having played Weather Machine since, I felt like On Mars was not as complicated as I had remembered it being. I made sure to review a little bit the systems before I got there, and I found it delightfully engageable and plenty fun. So I had been thinking On Mars was maybe a little too complicated, but returning it to it, I found it was quite a delight, and I really had a good time with it. Katie won, good for her. So that's On Mars, Vital Lacerda, a revisit mentioned here as part of the Shooting from the Hip episode. Then finally, you have another game that I got off of my shelf of opportunity. This is Goonies Never Say Die. Goonies Never Say Die is all of these were played in December, by the way. These are post-Christmas games played between December 25th and December 31st. So the Goonies Never Say Die is a one versus many shared storytelling game where one player plays the Goonie Master, the GM, and the other players all play the eponymous children from the Goondocks area of Astoria. That's right, the Goonies, going on an adventure. And the game comes with a number of scenarios, and each scenario is sort of meant to loosely replicate the events from part of the movie. And then I think later in the game, there's some stuff that happens that isn't from the movie. But like the adventure we played was from the beginning of the movie, where the children have gone into the lighthouse and they've gone down into the bottom of the fireplace. And now they are trying to make their way through the caves. Now, it is a pretty simple descent style role-playing game. Each player gets a couple actions, and those actions involve moving, searching, and fighting. The GM gets a certain number of action points to spend on enemies and events that allow for some variety and stuff that happens. In this game, there's flooding in the tunnels, there's bats and rats that the Goonies have to fight. And there's a couple booby traps that they have to escape. It was not very hard, I don't think, for the Goonies to get through, but they had a good time doing it. And by the time we got to the end, there definitely was a conversation of, okay, when are we playing the next scenario? It was a success and something I think we're definitely going to try to get through this year. I don't know how long it'll take us, but there's 5 scenarios in the box, so it shouldn't be an inordinate amount of time. That's Goonies Never Say Die from Prospero Hall. So, what games did you play at the end of December, or have you played recently? Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and pop into the forums there to share your gaming experience. Have you played Isle of Cats Explore and Draw, Mosaic, A Story of Civilization, The Goonies Never Say Die, or On Mars? If so, let us know what you think of those games. If not, tell us what games you have been playing. As always, I'm excited to play any remote games with you that you'd be interested in. You can head over to Boitaju, Board Game Arena, or yukata.de and look for the user Wombat929, that's me. Challenge me to a game. I will play it with you. If I haven't played before, I'll be really bad at it. If I have played before, I'll just be kind of bad at it. So either way, you're going to have a good time. Well, thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.